Let's not sugarcoat this. There's a version of you that never grew up. Not because you didn't want to, but because life shoved you into survival mode before you ever got the chance to figure out how to just be. That kid, he's not gone. He's tucked under your sarcasm, lurking behind your job title, throwing tantrums through your relationships like a feral co-pilot. Every time you spiral over a text message, ghost someone who actually gave a damn, or have a mini meltdown because your latte came with the wrong milk, newsflash, that's not adulting. That's emotional time travel. That's the kid in you grabbing the wheel and swerving into traffic. And sure, maybe you've got the spiritual starter kit, a meditation app, a gratitude journal, a therapist who nods and calls you brave for not screaming at your dad. You're healing, right? Nope. You're just accessorizing your trauma. Better hashtags, better lighting, same old wounds. Bill Hicks once said, "We're all just one bad day away from living in a shopping cart." Well, your inner child. He's already there, honking the horn with sticky hands. This isn't your self-care era. This is a custody battle between the adult you pretend to be and the kid who never got the love he needed. And guess who's winning? Yeah, the kid. Let's stop pretending you're chill. You didn't overreact when your friend left your message on read. You didn't act out of character when your partner asked a basic question and you flipped like Gordon Ramsay after someone burned the risotto. That wasn't grown-up you. That was 8-year-old you. Sweaty palms, shallow breath, and a heart pounding like recess is about to get mean again. You're not triggered. You're possessed. Possessed by the kid who got ignored, the kid who wasn't picked, the kid who learned early that silence equals safety and showing emotion equals punishment. And nobody sees it. Why? Because you've learned to look well-adjusted. You pay bills, you drive sober, you make perfectly dead-eyed eye contact at dinner parties. But beneath that mask, there's a child smashing every emotional button like it's an arcade game. Let's talk mechanics. This isn't fluffy inner child nonsense. It's psychological time travel. Your nervous system doesn't know it's 2025. It thinks it's still 1998, reliving every moment you felt unsafe. Hey, can we talk later? That's all it takes. A harmless text. Suddenly your stomach drops, your breathing tightens, and your brain starts rolling out Tarantino-level plot lines. They're leaving. I screwed this up. Something's wrong. I'm not good enough. Reality check. Nothing happened, but your body doesn't speak logic. It speaks memory, and it's got receipts. You ever seen a dog flinch when someone raises a hand, even if it's to pet them? That's you, except instead of a hand, it's someone setting a healthy boundary, and instead of barking, you go quiet, smile politely, and spiral later when nobody's watching. You think you're just sensitive. Nah. You're fluent in avoidance, fluent in passive-aggressive silence, fluent in disappearing when things get real. And that's not weakness. That's survival programming. Here's the kicker. You don't even trust love. You trust patterns. You'd rather ghost someone than risk being abandoned. You'd rather date chaos because chaos feels like home. Calm feels wrong. Like an itch you can't scratch. Most of your adult problems aren't adult problems. They're kid problems cosplaying as grown-up drama. Fear of commitment? That's not about them. That's about watching your dad leave. Or worse, watching him stay but never show up. Your inability to say no? That's about being punished for having a voice. So now you say yes, stew in resentment, and blame them for asking. You don't need another Instagram affirmation. You don't need to chant, "I am worthy," while ignoring the voice inside you that still feels unlovable. You need to stop gaslighting the child inside you. Because he's not a metaphor. He's not a cute trend. He's you, raw, loud, honest. And he's tired of being shoved into the back seat while you fake being over it. He's not over it. He's gripping the wheel and screaming for someone, anyone, to finally say, "You're right. That shit wasn't okay." Here's a brutal truth no one wants to slap on a wellness hoodie. You didn't actually grow up, you just grew taller. You've got bills, a beard, maybe even a business card that says you're important. But emotionally, you're still that 6-year-old who got sent to his room for talking back, when all he did was express something real. We romanticize adulthood like it's some finish line. Like at 30, you're handed a trophy and a box of wisdom. Truth. Most adults are just children with fancier coping mechanisms and a Netflix subscription, and you're not emotionally unavailable. You're just terrified of being seen. Because the last time you were truly seen, it cost you something big. Your cool detachment? That's not Zen. That's camouflage. You learned how to vanish in plain sight because back then, being loud, honest, or vulnerable got you punished. And now, what do? You leave before anyone can leave you. You laugh off the moments that should have broken you wide open. You sabotage the good stuff so you get to control the crash. This isn't your fault, but it is your responsibility, because wounds don't magically vanish when you start paying taxes or drinking black coffee. They just get better at putting on normal clothes. Think about that one ex you still think about, the one you swear broke you. She didn't break you. She just reminded you of a wound that was already bleeding. She ripped the bandage off and showed you the real infection, that helplessness of being wanted and then not. That echo of your dad's back as he left the room. The way your mum's praise only showed up after you aced the test. So now, you're living a half-life where intimacy feels like a threat and success never feels like enough. You chase perfection and call it standards. You avoid vulnerability but call it independence. You drown yourself in work, workouts, porn, and endless distractions because stillness feels like death. And every time life asks you to soften, to open, to just feel something, you armor up instead, because softness feels dangerous. Softness feels like exposure. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't logic your way out of this. This isn't a top 5 habits kind of fix. It's not about buying the right journal or listening to the perfect podcast. Why? Because what's running your life isn't logic. It's the scared kid in your subconscious, gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckled fists full of fear. And he doesn't speak English. He speaks body. He speaks through the panic that hits when a message goes unread. He speaks through your sudden shutdown when someone gets too close. He speaks through the tightness in your chest when someone says, "We need to talk." You were taught that being a man means staying composed, means never flinching, means being the rock. But rocks don't feel. They just crack in silence. And that's exactly what you've been doing. Cracking, quietly, behind the curtain of your strength. You'll hit the gym to look strong, but dodge the emotional reps like they're the plague. You'll get praised for being unshakable, but no one's close enough to see the tremors. And the worst part, you've started clapping for your own repression. You confuse emotional numbness with healing. You think not reacting means you're over it, when in reality, you've just mastered the art of disappearing on command. You want freedom? Then stop running from the boy who still hurts. He's not weak, he's wounded. And you've spent your whole life pretending he's not there, while he calls every shot from the shadows. The real power move, facing him, sitting with him. Not to fix him, but to tell him the truth you've needed to hear your whole life. You didn't deserve that. You were never the problem. Here's a dirty little secret about men. We get praised for keeping it together, for being stoic, right up until we explode, and then everyone's shocked. Why? Because we were never taught to feel. We were trained to perform. We grew up with 2 emotional settings: fine and get over it. So what happens when we feel something deeper? We stuff it. We pack every fear, every heartbreak, every humiliation into a backpack we've been carrying since grade school. And guess what? That bag is tearing at the seams. You're not low maintenance. You're emotionally constipated. You're not always calm. You're terrified of what would happen if you let the pressure valve open even a fraction. Because deep down, You know you're not just a ticking bomb. You're a whole war zone with a decent wardrobe. Let's break down these grown-up tantrums. They don't look like the floor-kicking meltdowns of childhood anymore. They look like ghosting, stonewalling, overworking, snapping over takeout orders, or flexing on social media like you've got it all figured out. You think you're being rational, but really you're just 8 years old again, reliving the day you got punished for crying or that moment your dad's silence cut deeper than any words. Now, you don't cry. You get sarcastic. You don't feel sadness. You feel meh. You don't ask for help. You handle it. And then you wonder why no one really knows you. Here's the kicker. Most of what we call modern masculinity is just a trauma response with a six-pack. We lift heavy because the emotional weight feels unbearable. We chase success because failure used to feel like death. We fuck like it's therapy and wonder why the emptiness doesn't go away. We joke about our pain so well that no one realizes we're bleeding. This isn't strength. It's collapse dressed up as confidence. The tragedy is that we don't even notice anymore, because the world rewards it. We get applause for being unshakable. We get jobs, dates, and high fives for being driven or confident. But who claps for emotional honesty? Who hands out trophies for crying in your car because you don't know how to say "I miss you" without feeling like you'll choke? So we hide, we power through, we turn our pain into productivity and slap the label ambition on it. We wear our burnout like a badge. The truth? Every tantrum, whether it's snapping at your partner or vanishing into silence, isn't about anger. It's a plea for safety. Even now, especially now. That sharp defensive comment you made when someone gave you feedback. That was 12-year-old you screaming, "Please don't make me feel like I failed again." That time you ghosted after things got real. That was teenage you remembering what it felt like to trust someone and get mocked for it. Your adult tantrums might have a credit score and a gym membership, but they're still the same old ache. Please don't reject me. Please don't see how scared I am. And this doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. It means you're overdue for the truth. Your rage is really grief. Your withdrawal is fear. Your numbness, exhaustion. You've spent so long wearing masks that even you believe them. But masks slip, and when they do, that's not failure. That's the first honest thing you've done all day. Here's the punchline. No one in self-help wants to print on a $70 sweatshirt. No one is coming to save you. There's no apology letter arriving in the mail. No long-lost parent showing up in your dreams with the words that make it all okay. No partner so understanding that they'll fill every hole your childhood left behind. And if that makes you feel hopeless, good. That means you're finally ready to face the truth. Reparenting isn't cute. It's not sitting in a candlelit room chanting affirmations into a mirror while holding a healing crystal. It's brutal, it's boring, and it's the only way forward. Because the reality is, you have to become the parent your younger self needed and never got. That wounded kid inside you isn't going anywhere until someone shows up for him. And guess what? That someone is you. You think your issue is discipline? Try stability. You think you need motivation? Try safety. Because here's the secret. The lazy part of you isn't lazy. He's terrified. Terrified that trying again will mean failing again. Terrified that this time there won't be anyone to pick him up when he falls. So what does reparenting look like? Not Instagram reels. Not journaling in some fancy gold-embossed notebook. Not reposting trauma quotes with pastel backgrounds. It looks like this. Feeling a wave of shame and sitting with it instead of numbing out. Hearing that self-hating voice and interrupting it before it spirals. Getting triggered and instead of blaming your ex or your boss or the algorithm, checking in with the scared kid inside who just time-traveled back to the moment he felt unworthy. That's reparenting. It's when the adult in you finally steps up and says, "I know this feels like then, but it's not. I've got you now." You want peace? Stop waiting for your dad to suddenly become the father you needed. Be him. Stop begging the world to validate your pain. Validate it yourself. Tell that little boy inside you that he's allowed to be angry, He's allowed to be messy. He's allowed to exist without having to earn love. And then, this is the hard part, hold yourself accountable to that truth. Reparenting isn't about coddling yourself. It's about showing up consistently, especially when you don't want to. It's about saying, I'm not abandoning myself this time, even when everything in you wants to run. The most radical act of healing. It's not ayahuasca. It's not a men's retreat where everyone beats their chest under the moonlight. It's not even therapy, though therapy is great. It's this, not abandoning yourself when life gets ugly. That's all your inner child has ever asked for. Not for life to be perfect, but for someone to stay when things get hard. You ever watch a man cry for the first time in years? It's not poetic. It's a collapse. It's a demolition. But it's also the first honest thing he's done in a decade. Because under the armor of shoulds and musts, he finally found something real. And it wasn't strength. It was surrender. The kind of surrender that says, I'm done pretending. I'm done hiding. I'm done waiting for someone else to fix what they broke. That's where real healing begins. Not with answers, with honesty. You don't need a new mindset. You need to sit with your mess. You don't need to chase a better version of yourself. You need to return to the one who never felt safe and tell him once and for all, I've got you. Because when you do that, you stop needing the mask. You stop chasing the high. You stop punishing the world for not giving you what you needed. You become your own anchor, your own permission, your own damn home. You made it here, not by accident, not by luck, not because some algorithm favors sad boys with podcasts. You're here because some part of you finally got tired of surviving, tired of white-knuckling your way through life, pretending you're fine while everything inside you burns. And now, you're awake, wide awake. So what now? You don't kill the inner child. You lead him. Here's the paradox. The same scared, chaotic kid who's been hijacking your life. He's also the source of your fire, your creativity, your instinct, your fuck you to the system energy. He's not the enemy. He doesn't need to be silenced. He needs a seat at the table, just not the driver's seat. Let's talk integration. Not healing, not transcending, not fixing. Integration is simply making peace with who you've always been. Because that voice in your head that says you're too much, it was never yours. You inherited it. It came from broken people who thought control was love. You've been carrying their fear, their shame, their rules, but now you get to put that shut down. And when those old voices come back, and they will, you don't react, you recognize. You hear your inner child scream, don't leave me, and instead of shoving him aside, you say, I hear you. I got this. You make the decision, not the fear. This is what maturity really is. Not being cold, not being untouchable, not walking around like a fake Zen master who forgot how to feel. Real maturity is being able to feel everything and still choose wisely. To feel jealousy, but not let it poison you. To feel fear, but not let it paralyze you. To feel rage, but not put your fist through a wall. Because power isn't in suppression, it's in ownership. You think the journey ends with self-awareness? Please. Self-awareness is just the start line. Integration is the marathon. It's waking up every day and refusing to be the version of yourself that trauma tried to train into you. It's catching yourself mid-pattern and rewiring in real time. It's feeling unlovable and choosing love anyway. It's being terrified and leading anyway. It's letting the kid inside you exist, but keeping him safe enough that he doesn't sabotage everything. So what now? You live like a man who knows he's not broken, just unburied. You stop trying to impress the ghost of a father who never clapped. You stop performing for people who only love the version of you that asks for nothing. You stop waiting for someone to fix what your parents fucked up. Instead, you build your own blueprint, from scratch. You build a home inside yourself that doesn't need validation, that doesn't collapse when someone leaves, that doesn't crave chaos just to feel alive. You don't become fearless, you become anchored. You don't stop feeling like a mess, you just stop identifying with it. You stop letting the boy drive the car, But you keep him close because he's not your shame. He's your story. He's your spark. You're just the one holding the map now. You're not here to erase your past. You're here to carry it like a scar that finally stopped bleeding. The boy inside you didn't need to be destroyed. He just needed to know someone finally grabbed the fucking wheel.